Theirs was kind of a mom to him, you know, so he didn't like one. Well, of course, he didn't object to it, but he was hurt, you know. So anyway, I took Bernice up to camp at Mississippi, and we trained there that summer, and the fall come along, and we had to go to war games out in Tennessee.
Now, how old were you about now? About how old were you?
Well, that I can't remember neither now.
So how old was
I can't remember.
You would have been 19 or 20 probably.
No, I went into service when I was 21.
That's what I said, so it would have been before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I think I spent a winter there. I don't know. Anyway, that's not all that important. The thing is, I took her down there, and we got a little place in a little town there, in much more than a chicken coop.
Duck Hill.
And I had our outfit had to go to maneuvers, what they call maneuvers, the war games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Practice something like the real stuff, you know. And while on maneuvers, I wasn't getting no correspondence from my wife. And I was getting worried, and I was really concerned about that. No mail. So I went to the commanding officer. He was just a first lieutenant. And I told him, I got to get emergency mail to see what's going on with my wife. And I guess I didn't realize that we weren't going back over there when we first left.
Oh.
And later I realized that they said we're going to go to Fort Jackson, South Carolina when we're done here. So anyway, I thought, well, I want to get emergency leave, and if I can't get emergency leave, I says, I'm going to go AWOL. So he gave me emergency leave.
Mm-hmm.
I got to add a little bit to this. When I was riding a bus back from Tennessee to Mississippi, to this town, there was a colored guy. He was well-dressed colored guy. And he's the only one getting off at this little town. Mm-hmm. More or less just leaving them off on the sidewalk, the way I remember. The bus driver opens the door and he gets out, he says, hey, he says, I got stuff checked in down here under the side bin. You know, like the buses they got on bin outside, you got to open the door, and outside they put some freight or your luggage on in there. Mm-hmm. And he says, I got to get my luggage out of there. He says, outside here, outside bin. Oh, he said, don't worry about it. We'll get it some other day. And he closed the door on him. And the colored guy started getting excited. Oh, I got everything I got in there. And he said, oh, we'll get it some other day, and close the door on him. I thought, oh, yeah, God, how damn rude. But I'll tell you, those days, colored guys didn't have much to go by over there years ago. They was mean. Anyway, I was on that bus, and I went to pick my wife up or see what was going on. So anyway, she was going to go to California. I think her folks were over there by then. So, make a long story short, the buses met at this little town. One was going to go east and the other one going west. So I had to put my wife on the bus to heading out to the west. Same time, and I gets on the bus to go back to the war games. That was a very hard deal for me.
Yeah.
See them going across the country that way, and I'm going the other way. Anyway, that's what happened, and then later on, out in California, Darlene got real sick. And Bernie said, you better come over. She's real sick. I don't know whether they're going to make it or not. So I didn't have no money. So I went to the Red Cross. This is where the Red Cross comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Red Cross. We had Red Cross on the post, the Army post, Army Fort Jackson. I went to the Red Cross office and asked them to see if I could. I didn't ask them to give me money. I asked them to see if I could borrow some money so I could get out of here and go to California. I had a very sick kid out there. They refused. And ever since that, I kind of took a dislike to that Red Cross business. How in the hell that could be that mean? So anyway, I knew a second lieutenant that I was kind of friends with, and I asked him, how about you helping me to get some money so I can get to California? So he loaned me the money.
Mm-hmm.
We got to California, and I picked, after a while out there, I decided to bring my wife up to Columbia, South Carolina. See, that's close to Fort Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought her up there. That's a long story too. I could go on, rattle on from there on to finally decided that we trained there too. That was in the fall. And the time was getting close that I was going to have to be shipped overseas. So I sent Bernice up to a little town up there where where my dad lived. But she got a place with her sister-in-law, and they rented a place in the little town Monaga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I split them up, a big bunch of firewood, they burned firewood up there. Went back to the camp in Fort Jackson. And here finally come the time that I didn't have much time anymore. They were getting ready to ship to a place out in New York, some Army camp. From there on, we'd be loaded onto the ship. So Bernice wrote to me or called or something. She said, I'd like to come and see you before you go. So I agreed to that. So she came back up to Jackson, and I can't remember if Darlene did or not, or whether Dan and Melvin took care of her. But most likely she brought Darlene. I'm not sure. Anyway, she came over, and we spent our last 2-3 days, whatever it was, and she went back to Minnesota, and our outfit moved to Army camp close to, in New York, close to where you go on the ship. Finally, the day come, we loaded on the ship, and overseas we headed. There was a British ship, Lou Pasteur was the name of it. I think the British, I think the Germans had captured, I don't know, there's some history about that deal too. I think it's a French ship to begin with, and I don't know how in the hell we wound up with it, but the British wound up with a big ship. They overloaded the damn thing. I'll tell you, there was a mess going overseas. And anyway, as we sailed past the Statue of Liberty, I wasn't the only one. There's other soldiers up on the deck too, and they're watching that Statue of Liberty until it disappeared. Disappeared. We was on our way. That was a kind of emotional deal too. And so it goes. We landed in Liverpool, England. Then they took us to an army camp in England where we got things together, and then we got in our trucks and they shipped us over to south end of England to a town named Southampton. From there, they put us on what they call landing ship craft or something like that.
Those Higgins boats?
Tank ship. I can't remember for sure what the title was. Tank ship or something. Anyway, it was a tank, all right. You could get it. They drove the trucks right in the tank and so forth, you know. And then when we started sailing across the channel, and then when the tide was just right, getting our trucks, and France was secured when we gave. I'll back off a little. It wasn't all secured, but most of it. Where we went ashore, it was secured. So we get in our trucks, you know, and when the tide was right, the tank ship goes as far close to the shore as they can, and then the front end of the tank ship drops down, and you just drive right on off. And that was the start of it. And we traveled across France, and as we passed our artillery, there's some of our outfit there already. So we bypassed our artillery. It was getting late in the evening, and we could see next time the cannons were going off, you see the fire spitting out. And you start realizing that, oh boy, this is for real now. And we bypassed the artillery. They'll shoot 15 miles, you know, 155 artillery. And we went into combat there at Metz, France. Germans were holding up on the outskirts of Metz, and we went into the city, stayed there that night, and from there on it is something else again. So that's part of my story.
How long had he been in the service when he was shipped overseas?
Huh?
How long had he been in the service before he got shipped over?
What?
How long had you been in the service before you got shipped over?
About 2 years.
Okay.
I was overseas about 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell one more story, then we gotta go. But tell them about your socks. That's one of my favorite stories. Your
What?
rabbit socks.
What?
Your rabbit socks.
Oh.
That was a good story.
Well, that's something else too. Some of the soldiers had overshoes, but our outfit didn't have overshoes yet.
Wintertime.
We had just the regular combat boots.
Jesus Christ.
And the feet would get kind of cold and get wet and what have you. So this is another thing. We was underneath some artillery fire. It was real close, and then I had closer artillery shells come in. But this one shell I remember coming in. It's oh, about from here to across the street. It was heading right for us. If they had raised the can a little bit more, they'd have had us, but it dropped short about from here to the upstairs street. Well, anyway, some of the guys up towards the front were getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
So they were bringing those the soldiers that got killed in, and they was taking the overshoes off from them at this place, and then was throwing those overshoes in the pile and said anybody when could find a pair that fit them, just go ahead and take them. So I went in there, I picked up a pair of overshoes, and then later, those natives, they get hold of rabbits. They shoot the rabbits or whatever, however they got them. They'd skin the rabbits and they'd save that rabbit pelt,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd make things out of them. So we was in this one shed, and they'd see some rabbit pelts up there. So we got some rabbit, a couple of rabbit pelts, and this guy that was one of my friends out there, he knew how to talk some of that foreign language. So he got an old lady make a pair of booties, and then out of the rabbit pelts. Then I put those booties in these overshoes that I got.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that cat really made her feet warm.
Oh, line the inside of it?
Overshoes with the rabbit
Yeah.
pelts inside.
That's a good story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about the...
Tell them about that little girl that used to hang around.
The what?
That little girl that used to hang around your cooking.
Oh,
That's sad.
that's another deal. Yeah, that's when the closest artillery shell come to me. But like right between this house and the next one, it lit right there and exploded.
It's like 10 yards.
Huh?
Like 10 yards away. 10,
Well,
30
yeah,
feet,
if it
20
was
feet.
that, it
Yeah,
wasn't very
wasn't
far.
very far,
Yeah, that's just a few feet. There's a corner, and I had the kitchen, those field stoves set up in the shed there. Brick building, in the corner of the brick building. I was over here the way I remember it. And anyway, the corner of that building saved me from getting any shrapnel. But anyway, I thought it was about the time we was getting ready to move out, I think. But anyway, prior to this happening, this kind of a barn. That's kind of a barn deal. See, there's a basement under there. I don't know if they had cattle under there. I can't remember. Maybe they had hay under there. Anyway, down there, you know, sometimes a house, part of the house, they'd have a cow in there. There's a lot of those places that we was at. Anyway, this little girl lived in, I suppose, with her mom and dad. They're right next door. Probably part of that same building. And she'd come over there, and she'd always want to help me working and getting the meals ready, either that or getting whatever we was gonna have. So she had, I remember her, I had stuff that I had to dump into one of these big pots, you know. She wanted to do that. So I let her do that. She was kind of a little helper, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a picture upstairs someplace.
Do you?
Just a little, yeah, she was, you know, about 7, 8 years old, something like that. Yeah, little girl, she wanted to help me.
Mm-hmm.